It feels a little easy to say that the Razer Blade 16 can perform. This is a $4,000 plus gaming laptop, of course it's going to run well. You don't need me to tell you that this RTX 4090 configuration can run anything you could think to throw at it. 3-figure frame rates across both 1080p and 1600p resolutions and Time/Fire Strike scores that come second only to the 2023 Asus ROG Strix Scar 18, the most powerful gaming laptop I've tested yet, tell the story themselves. The Blade 16 does sit towards the top of the pack in these benchmarks, but not to the extent I would hope for considering the additional cost. Yes, it's impressive that we're at this level in a slimline design. The Asus ROG Zephyrus G16 does suffer from reduced performance due to its more portable design, and you're spending that cash on quality of life features rather than sheer performance. However, if you're spending more thinking you'll get consistently better performance, you'll want to think again. In-game benchmarks are impressive, putting the Razer Blade 16 ahead of both the Asus ROG Strix Scar 16 and Lenovo Legion Pro 7i. The Blade stormed the Total War Three Kingdoms benchmark, for example, posting a 1600p/Ultra average of 105 frames per second, whereas the Legion Pro and Scar 16 were in the dust at 80 frames per second and 87 frames per second respectively. The Blade 16 can run in its native resolution at the highest settings and still hit frame rates comfortably above that 60 frames per second threshold. That's not something many rigs can say. But you just don't need to spend this kind of money to get there. The Zephyrus G16, for example, packs an even slimmer form factor than the Blade and still keeps up with the highest graphical settings at 1600p. The end result doesn't quite hit the same peaks as the Blade 16, but some tests did come back in the G16's favor, and you're spending nearly $1,000 less on Asus's RTX 4090 model. Should you buy the Razer Blade 16 2024? The Razer Blade 16 is an impressive gaming laptop, and I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. That OLED display is well worth the investment if you're in a position to do so, and the RTX 4090 configuration can blast through anything you'd want to throw at it. It's insanely powerful, packs a seriously smart aesthetic, and its screen can trade blows with high-end gaming monitors. But it's going to be out of reach for many. This year's iteration is even more expensive than previous models, and those releases were already hitting upper ceilings. Without the rest of the market showing us what we can get for our cash, the Blade 16 would be an incredible machine, but it's difficult to recommend considering its lofty price point. That's because it's the most expensive gaming laptop I've had on my desk for a long time, but it's not the best performing. It's a slick, slimline build, but it's by no means the most portable. In fact, the only reason I would see fit to slide the Blade 16 across the table to a prospective buyer is that screen. This is the best panel I've seen on a gaming laptop so far, but it's a tall price to pay for an OLED display, especially considering so many of 2024's releases are also packing similar upgrades in this year's roster. If you've got the cash and you've waited to go all out on a top-of-the-range display and the components to see you through years of demanding releases, this is where you want to be looking. There's better overall value for money elsewhere though. How we tested the Razer Blade 16. I used the Razer Blade 16 for all daily work and play over a period of 2 weeks, with an additional week spent testing alongside the Asus ROG Flow X16. I used the Blade 16 as a solo device for most of that time, sometimes plugging into a monitor setup for longer sessions. I tested using in-game benchmark tools across Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Total War, Three Kingdoms, Returnal, and the Talos Principle 2, while also using 3DMark and PCMark 10's suite of GPU and CPU benchmarking features. I also played Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, Fallout 4, and Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice on the rig during more casual testing. For more information on how we test gaming laptops, check out the full Games Radar Plus hardware policy. We're rounding up all the best Razer laptops on the market, or, if you're more interested in other brands, take a look at the best Asus gaming laptops and the best Alienware laptops available.